Hey guys, so today we have a long-awaited episode. I'm gonna tell you about my house. On the internet, my house is known as Introvert Architect's House because I consider myself an introvert. When I designed the house, I wanted it to reflect who I am. Hence, the main idea behind the house is to hide the house in the terrain to maximize privacy, which I value so much. And overall, I want this episode to be about the solutions I used in my house. I really packed it with both engineering and architectural stuff, yeah. I have already lived in the house for 6 months and want to share my living experience with you. It will be helpful information for those still deciding on their home's construction. It will help you better understand what decisions to make for your future project and what you should leave and save money on it. I've been building a house for 4 years. There were many challenges with the terrain and foundation. Now I can't even believe how many things we went through. When we arrived here, we immediately fell in love with this place and didn't even look at other options. Just look at the view that opens up as you approach the house. It's just amazing. The road is still temporary. There's a lot of construction and no one wants to lay asphalt until the houses are built. And here we are driving up to the house and you can see it well from here. The concept of the house is like a semi-underground house with a green roof, and we wanted it to blend in with the landscape so it wouldn't be visible right on the plot. This is a really interesting moment. Let's go down, maybe walk around the house, and then we'll go inside and I'll show you the interior. Well friends, let me tell you more about the architecture of the house. The main idea was to combine modernist architecture with such Italian coastal villas. Therefore, here we see a combination of natural materials such as wood, stone, plaster with modern solutions such as panoramic glazing, flat roof, minimalism in form and finish. Initially, I planned this house as a holiday house for a weekend getaway, but as soon as I moved in, I didn't want to leave. Actually, I'd like to tell you more about working with the site. I had a slope on the site, a 23-foot drop, which is quite a lot, but as all architects will tell you, a hill is not merely a drawback. In fact, it's an advantage. I designed my house so that the first floor level is 7 foot below the road level. So it ends up being completely hidden from prying eyes because from here all we see is the green roof and the edge of our flat roof. The house is fully revealed from the inside, from the inner courtyard. The building itself is monolithic with a green roof and a natural stone finish to dissolve the house into its surroundings as much as possible. I also planted cereal plants around the house to create an additional visual barrier. There are 2 retaining walls and a fence around the edges of the house to close it off from the neighbors and leave a beautiful view of the water only from the main glass facade. Let me show you my favorite inner courtyard. I can see the greenery has grown a bit here. There is a cat lying down here, it's not mine. My favorite decorative apple tree, which stands opposite the large panoramic window, looks beautiful from the kitchen. Here you can see how beautifully the corten steel door has aged. So this is essentially a standard door that we treated to give it a unique weathered look, as if it had been soaked in a puddle. And right now I haven't covered it with anything, so it's continuing to rust, I could say. And look how well it matches with the door to the boiler room or the main entrance. It's just the perfect combination. I'll immediately point out the landscaping composition in the inner courtyard, which has become a focal point. Check out how awesome this bush has grown, and the rock garden has become a focal point. The jacuzzi is now nicely separated from the main terrace with these stalks. I think visually this is what was missing. We also finished the steps and spent a long time figuring out what solution we could develop for wooden steps on an open metal frame. Because if we just laid the same boards as on the terrace, it would look ugly. It would look like some kind of temporary solution. It's unclear how to handle the edges. And over time, they would warp even more than on the terrace because their base is worse. This area by the fireplace turned out. I was worried for a long time because when we first painted these beams, they were just pure white, and the terrace, which we had already sanded and recoated, was gray, and the colors didn't match. Now that some time has passed, the terrace has aged a bit and so have these logs, and now they match each other perfectly. Don't be concerned too much about the color of the treatment because in fact over time it will all turn gray, dark gray. I also made these little cubes from leftover logs. You can use them as snack tables. So you just put it here, place your plate, and enjoy your meal around the fire. It's a cool idea that you can make just from scraps. The jacuzzi here has gotten a bit overgrown. There isn't a single tree around except for this neighbor's birch, and it's about 66 foot away. And by the way, there's a lot of debris from it here, so ideally you should cover it all up. So you don't have to clean this pool every month or two. My favorite part of the terrace is where the loungers are. Actually, in the summer I lived in this house. I spent all my time on them. I worked on them and held meetings. It's a cool thing, especially when it's under a canopy and the sun moves in a way that creates shade here. It's a cool thing. I recommend it to everyone. Design and plan spots on the terrace specifically for loungers. In this part, I've also concluded that I need to make a small, or rather a big coffee table and put some chairs around it. There's a superb set from Hey, the outdoor furniture brand. I think I'll get one of those for myself. And it will turn out to be a completely finished area in every possible way in terms of parties. So there's an area where you can barbecue. It's purposely placed a bit on the corner so that all the smoke doesn't go through the sliding door. Next, there will be an area where you can sit and eat. There's a spot for yourself where you can lounge on the chairs. And of course, a jacuzzi and a fire pit can't do without those. I want to point out these speakers. Very few people use them, but they work well on terraces. These speakers are designed for outdoor use and are perfect for open spaces like terraces. You just turn on the sound and don't need to bring out any sound bars. They are user-friendly and convenient, allowing anyone to connect easily. You just connect to the external speakers via Bluetooth. Anyone can do it, including any guest, and play music. It's a really cool solution that I actually use. Let's go inside the house. There were many debates and questions about living with such a big sliding door in everyday life. It's debatable because when you open it up in the summer to 13 feet, many midges appear in a second. It's just an unreal amount. So in terms of practicality, it's inconvenient, but it's super convenient if you're having a party or having 10-15 people here. You open it wide, you've got the heat, you've got music on the terrace, and you've got music here. It creates just one big unified space, and it works great. So if your sliding system opens not into a living room with a kitchen, but into a spa area, it's the perfect solution. There, it doesn't matter about the bugs. If it's done like mine, there are two options because the house is small, 1100 square feet meters, or don't use a sliding door, instead have a big panorama icy window and just a regular door next to it. That's also a beautiful practical solution. You get a seamless panoramic view without mullions in the middle and a typical door you can open and close. Or there are these pleated screens, let's say, that fold up like an accordion to the side and close. If it's evening and you don't want flies or mosquitoes getting in, you close the screen instead of the door and get a closed and protected space. All right, I'm gonna take off my coat and we'll continue the interior tour. So, about the interior, my wife and I had a lot of debates about how to design, about the style, about the overall vibe. This interior, it's what they call Japandi now, right? It's a combination of Scandinavian coziness and Japanese minimalism. And this minimalism isn't austere, it's more homey. If I were designing an interior just for myself, it would be hardcore minimalism. I'd sleep on a tatami. I wouldn't have dining tables like this. I'd just live squatting. Most likely I wouldn't bother with these walls outside the window or the drywall ceiling. I'd go for a loft style because it's cheaper, simpler, and like a man cave. Here we ended up with something in the middle because she liked that country, rustic style, which just wholly clashed with what we were designing, and I had to find a compromise. It was challenging, but let's see if I solved it. Alright, let's talk about the interior space of the house. Of course, we need to start with the layout. It's a small house. It's just 1,000 square feet, and plus 2,200 square feet of terrace, by the way. So it's twice as much here. In these 1,000 square feet, I managed to fit quite a lot of space. So first, there's the living room and kitchen where I am right now. On the sides, there are two wings. In one of them, there's the primary bedroom and a large bathroom, and in the other wing, we have the boiler room and a kids room / guest room, let's say, because when I was designing the house, I didn't have kids yet, and now it's probably going to transform into a kids room gradually. The concept was to create an open space, so all the doors here have a sliding system. They hide in the walls, and basically when we open these 4 doors, we get a unified space, and we can see from one corner of the house to the opposite one, and that's the beauty of it, and that's the feeling of making the most out of these 100 square meters, so we don't have that thing where you go from a tiny hallway into a small space and then into small rooms. Everything here is one whole space, which can then be visually separated with these sliding doors. For the color scheme, I also wanted to create that Scandinavian Haige vibe and combine it with some kind of Japanese minimalism, so natural wood was used everywhere as the main design code. As you can see, the parquet matches the color of the outdoor terrace. If it weren't for the windows, you wouldn't know where the interior ends and the outdoor terrace begins. And thanks to that, the house visually looks even bigger. Of course, you can't get far with just shades of wood, so I had this kind of golden combination here, I guess. It's natural wood, anthracite-colored metal inserts, and gray stone as an accent piece, like the countertop in the kitchen or the countertop near the fireplace. And for color accents, I used red and green. And the red and green aren't just used as painted walls. They're used in different interpretations. So like here, I got a contrasting rug from my dad. It used to hang on the wall in his apartment. That's, for example, a green sofa in the kids' room or a green rug in the bathroom. And it turned out to be a really good base. They're a contrasting pair on the color wheel, so they go well together, complement each other nicely, and serve as accents in different rooms in varying proportions, so to speak. Let's take a little tour around the apartment and see how everything looks and the details used to create this atmosphere. Alright, let's take a look at everything step by step. There are a lot of details here. Believe me, I could talk about this endlessly too. This is the living room area. The sofa and the chair. 2 white pieces with a contrasting rug. I think it fits perfectly here. And added the necessary colors. And basically this is the area for the TV and the fireplace. As you can see, there's no TV here. I replaced it with a projector. because it's really important not to mix these zones and to focus on watching movies or the fireplace. Of course, all the attention is focused on this fantastic fireplace here. In real life, I have to say that after using this fireplace, I'd say it's not usable because this little grate protects against sparks and some unpleasant moments. So as a decorative element, it's a fantastic thing. Fireplaces without glass look beautiful. From a practical standpoint, there are some issues. The second thing is how the TV viewing area is organized here. As you can see, there's this beautiful decorative grate down below. We spent a long time choosing the perforation as transparent as possible, but you wouldn't see the speakers behind it. Here the acoustics are hidden, meaning there's a subwoofer and 3 speakers. When you're sitting on the sofa, you get an ideal central composition both acoustically and for watching TV above the fireplace, so you can turn on a movie if you want. When it's off, you have a beautiful area. My wife has a big collection of books and we needed to figure out where to store them. We made an open shelf where all of that can be placed. We have a lot of different decor from various places, but surprisingly, it's all in a colonial style. That's because I inherited a lot from my grandmother, who lived in Cuba and brought back a lot of cool decorative items from there. My wife bought some things like these elephants, and it turned out that the decor didn't need to be separately selected or bought for this apartment. It just came together naturally. And I like it because, looking at this painting, I saw it when I was 3 years old and now it fits perfectly into my interior. I love it. These things reflect your life philosophy and show guests who you are, right? It also reminds you of some past. And it's cool when clients share some of the things they want to incorporate into the project because it becomes unique thanks to them. For example, this little board is from my favorite collection. Here's Lenin drawn with a Coca-Cola. My dad drew this too. I took it from him. This is indeed where it stood. It's an exquisitely beautiful piece of decor that's really valuable to me. As for the kitchen itself, as you can see, there are no upper cabinets here. We didn't make them on purpose. There's just a top shelf for decor. There's this little pocket where it's really convenient to hide jars with bay leaves or other household items. And this surface is enough to cook comfortably. The lower cabinets are more than enough to store some things. I like how this kitchen's countertop extends into the end. We don't have any ugly seams right here. We ended up with this frame made of large format porcelain stoneware, where these minimalist wooden kitchen fronts were just embedded. About the hood and the stove itself, there were a lot of options too. Anyone who watched Andrus's episode knows he complained a lot about the extractor hood behind the cooktop, which rises and is supposed to pull in all the smells. In fact, it doesn't work, but this solution works in this setup where it's built into the cooktop itself. In this part, we see the sink, which is made from the same porcelain stoneware. It's a pretty inconvenient thing because it's better to attach some existing sinks since you can see they're clunky, meaning they don't have ergonomic corners and are hard to clean in these sharp corners. But, in terms of design, it looks gorgeous. Of course, you definitely need to have built-in dispensers like this in kitchens. It's better to have 2 of them. But I'm getting into too much detail here. Let's talk a little more about the dining set. This is a table that we designed in one of our projects. I just recreated it for myself along with these excellent Polish chairs, the brand I can share if needed. And I like this light fixture. It doesn't block your view so you can watch the projector when you're in the kitchen. At the same time, it beautifully and decoratively complements this dining set. And you see the color of this wood matches, for example, with the color of the dresser. And these kinds of cross features, I think, should be in a good project. Behind this door, we've got the boiler room. Right now it's filled with all sorts of unnecessary props and kids stuff. We don't need to go in there, but you can see how people prepare for filming by stuffing any unnecessary space with whatever they can. And behind this door, we've got the fridge hidden away, which is also an elegant solution because, as you can see, the FGF front matches the wall color perfectly and you can't see it at all. So the kitchen exists independently and the fridge is separate. It's stunning. It's an unnoticed thing. Here's the dresser. In the future, I wanted to put a record player here. This little grid is specifically for making vinyl look nice there. But that's all for the future, of course. There's this stunning closet here where you can hide your outerwear. It's transparent like a grid and the clothes are hidden behind it. There's also this burlap which is entirely transparent. It's a good solution. My wife and I debated whether dust would collect on the clothes for a long time. Well, 6 months have passed and we go into this closet and no clothes have been stolen and no dust has collected on them. But the fact that they get aired out and there are shelves for shoes at the bottom which also get aired out is a big plus. So it's a perfect solution. Also, it's probably worth mentioning these beautiful and elegant vintage wall sconces, which I like and complement my favorite rug in my living room, which I adore. So, right here at the entrance, we've got the bathroom. The most controversial window, which many people have commented on, says it's like an exhibitionist's bathroom, where you're just lying in the tub in front of a panoramic window. There's a blind here, and even when it's half closed, plenty of natural light is streaming in, creating a warm atmosphere. It's getting late, so we've turned on the lamp to add a glow to the room, but we hardly use it during the day because the sunlight is usually sufficient to ensure visibility. And this is a completely different kind of sauna. It's just a completely new and different level because the problem with most saunas is that they look incredibly like those old and outdated saunas in cabins made from clapboard. It's really ugly and outdated. Here's a minimalist solution that you can just take and copy. It was a great idea to install a stove with a steam generator. There are stoves with water connected to them, so you don't need to refill them. In my case, I just pour water in here with jugs before turning on the sauna. It's really inconvenient. It's definitely way more advantageous when there's absolutely water here, and it somewhat maintains the humidity level by itself, and is fully automated. It's a really cool and smart solution. This part is a bit unfinished. Maybe we'll be able to finish it up, so to speak. In the shower, I want to point out its depth. Just take a look at this truly incredible site. It's truly about 4 feet, maybe even 5 feet deep. And that depth is enough, so you don't need any curtains or partitions here. Not a single drop, believe me, will get out. Thanks to the massive depth of this shower. Having some hooks to hang your clothes in the shower area is essential, but those are just details. The bathtub is a convenient solution. I really appreciated it, especially now that we have a little kid, that the edge is lower than the standard. You just sit down, and it's really convenient to bathe the baby here. Because to be completely honest, guys, no one really takes baths in them in the first place. These are usually some kind of decorative solutions. You must be a true fan to enjoy lying in a bubble bath. You absolutely must have a lot of time. Honestly, baths are indeed really for bathing kids. And in a bath like this, it's convenient to do. Probably in this bedroom, in addition to the very simple minimalist design, you want to pay attention to these large panoramic windows and curtains. The first thing I usually talk about is these vent windows. It's a really cool solution. I added this mosquito net here, and now no more mosquitoes or gnats get in, let's say. But it's a highly effective thing. For example, if you need to ventilate without ruining the exterior with an ugly window frame, these vent windows are the perfect solution. As for aesthetics, when we first built the house, I didn't plan on having curtains here, in my opinion. I had these roller blinds that come down from the top. I thought that would be enough. In reality, it turned out to be uncomfortable, especially since my bedroom is small, there's really not much space here. And just walking near the window, it even felt like it was giving off a chill. We discovered these lovely curtains that were perfect for the situation. They're semi-transparent, like tulle, which means you can see what's happening outside while enjoying all the sunlight. But they serve two important functions. First of all, you can't be seen from outside at all. A tulle with panoramic windows is actually a brilliant solution. You don't need to put any reflective coatings on the windows or come up with some tinting. That all doesn't work when you turn on the lights in the evening. The tulle works. Thanks to it, you really won't be seen from outside. When you turn on the light at night, it will still show something. And it's a great thing not just to hide from unwanted and curious prying eyes visually. Still, I also had a significant problem with birds constantly and accidentally flying into the large and expansive panoramic windows. This is a significant problem for all these modern houses because birds don't see the glass. Especially if you're using that infrared coating reflecting ultraviolet light. It also reflects the sky for them. And they think there's no barrier at all, and sometimes they even crash fatally. It's a terrible thing. And I thought for a long time about how to solve this too. There are all sorts of things like ribbons, metallic shiny ones, or sticking silhouettes of eagles. But all of that is just wild, right? And ugly. So the tulle, it saved the day. The guest room is beautifully and elegantly designed in these neutral tones with the green sofa as the accent. And I like the spacious layout solution here. The room is relatively small, but look, as you can see, this wall is done with a decorative slat, behind which there's a very spacious and impressive closet. It's indeed a bit cluttered right now, but we use it as the primary storage space in the whole house because it's very spacious. And visually, you can't even tell there's such a huge storage area there. Visually, it's just a decorative slat. I really like this New Zealand rug. It's like undoubtedly reaching the unquestionable zenith of fashion, right? This is a kind of knotted knitting, and you see it's combined with such a rough texture. Overall, it fits in here really well. It was like a real find when I saw it. It matches the sofa. This is also a nice area with the cross, which is interesting and appealing. It's not a religious symbol anymore. I like the design code, the cross, as a shape and design element. I think it's a very emotionally powerful symbol. When you look at the cross, some kind of emotion immediately arises inside, some kind of feeling. This space turned out really great. A kid's room would be just right here. You can also check out the little lamp. Here's another custom solution. Very simple, but indeed very elegant. I angled it slightly so that the light mainly shines on the work area in the future. Of course, if this becomes a kid's room, a desk will be added here, and at the same time it should face the wardrobe. I'll ask you to do that in the comments because this isn't the last episode. We've still got some things to finish up here. There's a massive lack of decor here. I want to redo half of everything here, like a real architect designer. As soon as the project is finished, a million ideas pop up on how it could have been done better. So leave your comments and thoughts, and we'll absolutely and undoubtedly rely on them in our future episodes. And I, in essence, want to conclude by saying that when you're designing your space, endeavor to incorporate as many personal items as possible. These things fill your life so that your interior or your client's interior doesn't look like a life starting from scratch where even the decor is bought from some supermarkets or famous brands. Instead, let each item have a story or soul behind it, which gives you personalization and makes your interior unique and meaningful in your design. Well, folks, I just want to tease a bit because my story doesn't end with this house. I've already got this really big, incredibly exciting project in mind that's looming on the horizon. I bought a plot of land in America near New York, and I'm planning to build a big, beautiful house there. So make sure to subscribe to our channel. It will be even more extraordinary with even more epic stories and buildings. Well, I'm saying goodbye to you. See you next time. Bye-bye.